Hey there, this is Brennan from Gongs Unlimited, and I'm here to talk to you about this beautiful boy. It's a barrel-loved Flumie, or friction mallet. I think it depends on where you are in the world. I call them friction mallets, but Flumie's a fun word too. And I'm here to talk to you about them because they are more than meets the eye. They may look like an average Flumie or friction mallet, but they're the most expensive one that we have, and they're also subjective, but this is my personal opinion, the best. They are able to get a larger range of sounds out of a gong, and you're able to get a larger range of sounds out of the friction mallet itself consistently. There have been gongs that you can't even get a friction mallet to work on, in my experience here. I've played quite a few gongs. But if you hit it with the right B-Love Flumie, then you can get it to make all sorts of sweet sounds. And they do make some really cool sounds. We start a lot of our product videos off with a B-Love Flumie because the sounds they make are often so impressive. But because they're an artisanal product and an expensive product, they can use a little bit of explanation about how to use them correctly so that you don't have issues damaging them or have issues playing them in general, longevity and all that. The first thing that is important to know with the barrel-loved Flumies is, like I said, they're an artisanal organism. That's not the right word, but let's go with it. They're an artisan product, and because of that, they should be treated gently and they should be treated with respect. A lot of people who have issues with these mallets, issues including the head popping off, or a snapping of the stick in really extreme cases, a skin grabby noise when it's on the gong. The origin of a lot of that is treating these not as their own unique thing, treating them like you would another friction mallet, which means huge aggressive sweeps across the gong and putting a lot of weight behind it. But that's not the way that they were meant to be used. You can get cool sounds playing them in a great variety of ways, but when you're playing these super aggressively and you're pushing the gong, putting your weight behind it, and getting the gong swinging, even if you like the sounds you're getting out of it, it's not how this was meant to be used. And because of that, you might have issues of damaging the product. So even though once you purchase this, it's, yours to use how you would like, I'm here to show you how it's meant to be used by the people who make them and meant to be used in such a way that they will last a long time and give you great consistent sounds. The first thing being gentleness. You don't want to have your gong getting crushed by this mallet. By that I mean, when you apply pressure to the surface of a gong, you don't really want that much pressure at all. You want it almost slightly gliding along the surface. And the number one indication of if you're playing a B-Love Flumie too hard is the amount that the gong is swinging. This is their biggest mallet, a 10 centimeter, and it's huge. You can see it next to my head. My head's kind of big. This is going to put a lot of weight behind it and is going to cause the biggest ripple effect swing of any mallet that they make. And still, when I use this, it should move extremely gently. I'll give you an example. I put my finger, my pointer finger and my thumb right up against the ball at the top. And you can even rest your thumb like this against the ball. I do that sometimes with the extremely big ones. You can move it back and forth as far as not quite on the ball versus having it full resting on. And it will give you a different range of effects. Very slight, but it will give you a slight difference in how it sounds. So once you have your fingers here like this, you move your Flumie to the surface. And with this extreme big Flumies, say over 6 centimeters, 6 and over rather, you're going to have a hand on the bottom. It's a two-handed process. Gripping the bottom, and you're going to be steering with this, but this, your dominant hand. I'm a lefty. And so my left hand, probably your right, is going to be applying the pressure, holding it, and then I'll be doing my steering with my right. And so I just have it resting along the surface. I'm not pushing at all. And I have my thumb and my forefinger up top, gripping it, but not crushing it. Just enough to get a hold on it. And I'm moving very slightly across the surface. And so I've got this low growl going that I don't think the guy behind the camera can hear, but you can hear because you're hearing it through the microphones that are right on the back. This 10 centimeter is the hardest mallet to get a sound out of. It's only going to get a very deep growl, which is why I'm using it as an example of just how little this gong is moving when I've been playing it with the heaviest mallet and the most difficult mallet to get a sound out of. And it's a good lesson in how to do this, because the thing you have to keep in mind when you're playing with these mallets is that you don't want to give up when you don't have a sound to begin with. You'll feel the vibration before you'll hear any sound, and you have to trust that it's working once you have a good grip on it. To illustrate that, I'm going to pick a smaller size, a more consistent size. I'm going to go with a 6.5. Let's see what we got. Here's a 6.5 inch Flumie. I know that the sweet spot, as in the Flumies that work on any gong size, in my experience, with it, outside of a 12 inch, but any average gong size up to the biggest of the big is the middle range. Starting at 4 up to like a 7, you can get awesome sounds out of pretty much any gong. So I'm very confident in using this. So when I apply it to the surface, I'm almost parallel, not quite. If this is the surface of the gong, I probably have it out at an angle like so. Just a little New Haven style pizza slice. Not a New York style, New Haven style. And so when I have it on the surface of the gong, finger and forethumb, what are those words? Forefinger and thumb onto the surface, and I'm going to gently stroke across. And that's not me even trying to get a sound. That is me with one hand, when I should be using two, just dragging it across the surface. Not in an elliptical motion, just straight across. I can get a wider variety of sounds and a more controlled sound if I use it the right way, which I'm going to give you a demonstration of in a second. The important thing being that I'm waiting to feel the vibration coming back against my fingers, through the ball, onto the stick, to my fingers, and I'm giving a small amount of pressure to counteract that, to keep the ball stuck to the surface. And I'm letting the gong tell me what I need to do, not vice versa. And so after I'm done using it, the gong is barely moving, but I got a pretty big sound. Say you want a bigger sound. You have a few options for that. Maybe the logical thing to do would be to have a big sweeping motion across the entire gong. Your other choice is to play over an area multiple times to sort of pet an area of the gong. Then you can start to really mess with volume levels and intensity without having to add greater pressure at any point. I'll show you what I mean. As I was playing it, the gong was completely still, and now it has just a little sway at the end from me kind of pushing it as I released. But you can get a ton of sound manipulation just out of that, just out of stroking the same area of the gong a few times with very minimal pressure still not firmly grasping it, but just holding it in place with your two fingers and just responding to the vibration coming back from the gong. And if you're not getting any sound from what you're using, and this can happen a lot if you're using a bigger mallet, I'm going to grab a 9 centimeter. Sometimes with these very big ones, like the 10 from earlier, you can make it feel like you're having trouble getting it going, but you just have to be patient. And if you keep using the right technique, eventually you will catch. It's almost like catching a headwind on a sailboat or something. You will catch the right spot, and then you have to say, all right, I've got it, and follow through with it. So it might sound like nothing's coming at first, but just make sure you have the right feel, and then you will feel it pick up. You just have to trust in the process. I have no sound right now. Now I can feel it starting to vibrate. Gentle. And the gong is completely still. No sound. Now I can feel the vibration down my arm. Now it's going to start to play. And this is the way that these Flumies are meant to be used. Gentle strokes, creating a drone, essentially. A complicated drone, but still just a general drone purr of the gong. I could take this and I could put all my weight behind it and I could drag it across the surface as hard as I possibly could. And you could get some cool sounds out of it. I'm not trying to necessarily discourage people from experimenting, but I am saying the second you start to do that, you're leaving the wheelhouse of what this product is meant to do, and therefore you might get a head that pops off, and you might get some issues of the skin-grabbing noises, and I've heard of people breaking sticks. I don't know how it's possible, but it has happened. I'm just showing you how these are meant to be used, and if you continue to use them in this fashion, then you won't have those problems. There's two types of handles that come on the Beloved friction mallets. There's the wooden handles, and there's black handles. I don't know what the material is, so I'm not going to say, but it isn't wood. It's some sort of fiber product. This is a 4 centimeter and this is a 3 centimeter mallet, and this is the turning point in which it goes from wood to the smaller handle. 4 centimeter and up is all wood handles, and under 4 centimeters is whatever this is. This is important because the different handles affect how you play the gong, or how you use the Flumie rather. The process that I was using for the very biggest of the mallets, where I was holding it with my thumb and my pointer finger gently at the top, leading parallel to the surface, more or less parallel, that follows through even to a mallet that is a completely different size for comparison, simply because of the design of the ones with the wood handles. And so if I use the same exact practice with the 4, which is my personal favorite of these mallets, I can get this to work on literally any single gong that I've ever tried. I use the same exact pressure up against the ball. Gentle pressure. Same process, same results, different sound because of the heads. But if I just move 1 centimeter down from this to the 3, I have to start changing my grip simply because of the design. The second you move to these handles, no longer are you up at the ball. You're going to move down at least an inch below that. Sometimes even more as we get to the super babies. And you're going to get a very different sound from holding it an inch below to holding it 2 inches, 3 inches. It's going to be higher pitched and lower pitched. You can almost slide it up and down like you were on a guitar or something, because you're going to get a higher pitch corresponded to where you are on the stick. And I'll show that to you. But we're keeping one thing the same. Not that much pressure. Like I said earlier, gentleness is going to be our guiding principle. But now I'm holding it a bit further down on the handle. And I'm going to start to get noticeably higher sounds. If you want to do more, if you feel like, oh, there's more sound to be found there, repeat, don't press harder. So I can hear from doing this that there's going to be more things that come out of it, the kind of blue whale overtones that you get out of these mallets sometimes. And you just have to trust in repetition and being conscientious of what the gong is telling you. And it's not telling you to beat it up. as you can see, just experimenting with where my hand is on the stick of the mallet can give me a dramatically different sound. And just from playing it consistently and gently, I can still get a huge range of sounds, even with such a small one as this. What about the very smallest? This one. I assume this is a 1 centimeter. I don't think it's a half, but it's certainly smaller than an eyeball. This is the smallest one that they make, and I think these only come in a pack of 3 with the 3 smallest. These will create a completely different sound from the other ones. And they work well, great in junction with the other mallets, the bigger ones, because they're going to bring out really high-pitched sounds and bring out the overtones of a gong. But once again, experimenting with the handle, see what we get. Kind of strange, no? But use it in conjunction with, say, a 7. Can add an accented layer on top of whatever you're playing. And so the smallest of these friction mallets can work up to the biggest gong, but it doesn't work the other way around. You can use this and still get sounds out of a 52-inch gong. It's just going to be those kind of ghostly, very high accents. But the biggest of them, the probably 7 and above, you're going to have trouble using those on a smaller gong, especially once you get under about 30 centimeters. You're going to get the really bassy tones out of the big gongs, deep gongs, and these are going to get the trebles out of those same gongs. But when there aren't those bassy tones, like in a 26 or below, then there's nothing for them to harvest. You can think of it that way. When you're done using your beloved mallets, you're going to get left with a little mark afterwards, especially if you're using a Chinese gong. Especially the unlathed ones, you get a lot of, it's not even dirt, it's just the outside of the unlathed metal, that raw metal, is going to leave a big mark on your beloved mallets. And if you want to keep them this beautiful white that you can show off to all your friends, then you're going to have to clean them every time you use them. Luckily, it's not that intensive. It's as simple as taking the microfiber cloth that comes with your beloved mallets, big heart, not dripping wet, but it's pretty wet, and it doesn't have to be hot water or anything. You just need to get this microfiber cloth damp, get your beloved mallet, and you just rub it off. Simple as that. I like to take this, just a finger like this, in the microfiber cloth, and I just rub off all the nastiness. Just like that. That way, when you spend the money to get a high quality beloved Flumie, you can make it look beautiful for a long time. I got this one dirty too. Get my finger in there. And if it makes your life easier, you can pop off the top. And I just get all of that schmutz off of there. Put its head back on. And that's it. Just a little bit of damp cloth action after you're done using it for a day or for a session, depending if it's a gong at home or it's a gong you're taking somewhere. And then you're left with a brand new looking Flumie. And that's all there is to know about these Beloved friction mallets. Thank you for watching. Thank you for buying your Beloved mallets and your gongs from Gongs Unlimited. And have a great day.